This is the Reekon M1 caliber electronic measuring tool device that attaches onto mitre saws. Today we're going to attach it to this Craftsman mitre saw, but it will attach to Rigid, DeWalt, and other mitre saws if that's what you're using. Inside you get the tool itself. Now it is made of plastic, but it's not lightweight. It's not heavy by any means, but it does feel like it's good quality. There's an instruction manual, and then something that irritated me immediately upon opening is a slot for batteries, or what looks like a slot for batteries, and there are no batteries in this. So first thing you need to do is get a couple of AA's. Now to install this, there are a couple of ridges on the back here, but we're going to avoid them. I'm just going to put it to the left of this one back here, and then we're just going to clamp the mechanism down. Then you have to push quite firmly on this handle to get it to click. You'll hear a ratchet mechanism, and that's it secured in place. Removing the Reekon is really simple. The same handle you squeezed to install it, you're going to squeeze that, and there's a little yellow switch on the back that you're going to push on when you squeeze the handle together. So push down on the handle and then just flick the little yellow button and it will come off. And the yellow bit that I'm pushing on is this little bit here. So before I start calibrating the Reekon here, I do want to make sure that I can do mitre cuts in both directions. Let's try the left first. We can go up to 50 and that slides without hitting the Reekon. And we'll just try the right hand side. Goes up to 60 on this saw, and yeah, I'm hitting there, and it's about 52. So we can get a 45-degree mitre in here, which is all that I need. So just bear that in mind when you're setting your Reekon up. If you're going to be doing large angles to the right-hand side, you're going to want to make sure that the Reekon is moved a little bit further to the left-hand side. Now it's time to begin the calibration process. You've got to make sure that your Reekon M1 caliber is securely attached to your fence. It's in the power off mode, so you don't want power on, because you try and do this with the power on, it's not going to work. You're going to make sure you have a straight piece of wood that's flat and at least 8 feet long. You're also going to make sure that you have clearance to a wall of 6 feet, where this mitre saw is not permanently set up here, so I don't have it set up as in a way that I can actually cut longer boards. That's coming. So if you want to see a workbench build, there'll be one of them on the channel soon. So let's go through the calibration process again. You only see this for the first time. I've gone through it multiple times now to make sure I get it right for you guys. So calibration, hold the 2 buttons down the left hand side and then press the power on button. Now we're going to want to do a zeroing cut. So just pull the piece through, just cut off a little bit. Now with this zeroed, hit the actual button that you're going to use to zero all your cuts, so press that. Now you need to go and mark 6 feet on your board, and this is why you need an 8-foot board. It just makes this a lot easier. Then we're going to measure 6 feet from here all the way along. Now we're going to pull this piece of wood all the way through, pull it a little bit, and apply a lot of pressure. It's kind of a lot of work actually. Let's just see if we can actually get really accurate cuts for this. Make sure to hold it against the fence at all times. And we're coming through. We do have 2 marks here, so we're going to go for the second mark. And then we're going to line that up with the left-hand side of the blade. Push it through a little bit, whereas you could do it by hand if there wasn't this pressure here. I think you could actually make it work quite well. And set the left side of the blade. So we're going to zero that. It says done. Now we're going to want to set the blade curve. And this is something I was getting wrong beforehand. So we're going to hold this down until it says blade. And I'm going to change it to inches like that. We'll do it in inches because I think that's going to be most accurate. So we'll turn this to 0.12. I'm just going to go 1.3 because this blade is 1.25. So we'll go like this, 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to hit the 0 button. So now it has a negative 1/8 inch curve for the blade. So let's see if we can get some 3-inch cuts this time. You also notice it's got the negative sign there. Beforehand, for whatever reason, I had a positive sign up here, and I don't know why. So let's try those 3-inch cuts again. Then we're going to zero it by pressing this button here. So we've got our negative 1/8 inch. And that is exactly 3 inches. So we figured out how to calibrate this Reekon M1 caliber. Now when you're working with this tool here, if you are going to be doing processing a lot of wood and it's not clean, this wheel's going to get dirty. And when this wheel gets dirty, it's going to make the wheel bigger than it actually is, which is then going to give you a false reading. So something you have to make sure is this wheel is clean. If a large piece of offcuts get on there, like this little chip here, then that's going to make this wheel slightly larger, which is going to give you a little bit inaccuracy in your cuts. It's nothing major, but it's something that if you do get multiple pieces like that on, it can throw your cuts off by a lot. So looking at here, you might be wondering how much can you actually fit under this Reekon without removing it, because if you remove it, you need to recalibrate it. Well, looking at it, you actually could get just under 3.5 inch piece under here, but this 2x4 does not fit on its end. So you, in theory, cannot cut 4x4s or 2x4s in this orientation. You can only do flat. So something to consider when you're looking at this, that it's not possible to cut larger pieces with this installed. Make sure there are no knots where the measuring wheel is going to go. It's just a little bit exaggerated here, but this knot is poking out on this side here. And when you're pushing it through, you'll see this lift up and then come back down. Now that's going to give us a false reading when we come to cutting the piece of wood. So make sure that if there are knots or any undulations or divots in the wood, that they're not going to be going where the wheel is, or you will get inaccurate cuts. If you are interested in getting a Reekon M1, I'll leave a link in the description below so you can go and check it out on Amazon. That is an Amazon affiliate link, so if you do purchase through that, I may earn a small bit of commission on that sale. So thank you very much for supporting the channel. Now we're really just going to test this tool out. We're going to do some mitre cuts. So now that we've got our first cut made, we're going to get into the angle mode. So press this once. Now we want to pick the angle that we're going to cut next, and we're going to do another 45 degree. Press this until 45 comes up, and then click the 0 button to confirm. You want to make sure that the angle that you're going to cut at is up here. Now you need to know what size you want your cut to be, whether you want it to be inside or outside. So we're going to make our cut 45 in the opposite direction now. You can see there that if we were to make this cut right now, it would leave a 0-inch inside cut. So we want to have a cut, say we're going to leave this as 3 inches. So we'll just push this through, 3 inches for an inside cut. Let's see how accurate that is. 3 inches on the inside cut. When you go from angles, or you're going from a 45, and then you cycle through using the 3 button. Now, you would think that you would turn this to the off button. So if we put this to the off setting and then 0, it looks like we have zeroed our measurement. Well, actually, you haven't. See this plus symbol here? That means that you've not allowed for the curve of the blade. So do not go to the off setting. That will just basically make it cut, not counting for the blade. If you want to account for the blade, which if you've calibrated everything and zeroed it incorrectly, you're going to want to do that. Press the angle button again and make sure that this is set to 0 degrees, then hit enter. Now we get our negative and we get our 1/8 inch. So if you're watching this, you may be wondering, is this actually any good for cutting pieces of wood? Well, let's find out just if we can actually process some cuts pretty quickly. So I'm going to do a few different cuts here and to see how it works. Something I have found is a little bit challenging to move, but not the end of the world, is when you're sliding things through. Pieces of wood do get caught on my mitre saw here. It's not a major issue, but I just found it something that is a little bit iffy. If you've got a proper workbench set up, I think it would actually be okay, but I don't, and I will do soon, but for now I don't. So we're just gonna, I'm not gonna square this board up, I'm just gonna butt up against the blade, 0 this, and then push it through and make a couple of cuts. Don't do what I just did there. After you make every cut, so we'll just put this back up against. Time we just did the cut, 0 it, and now you can push it through to your 3-inch cut. 0, and let's do a 4-inch. Actually, it moves quite fast. If you'd have to measure all these out. I haven't even touched my tape measure yet. There we have it, this Reekon tool. I think this is a really good tool to have around. If you're going to be making odd cuts, like 2, 3 different sizes, then this is going to really help you process a lot of wood really quickly. You don't have to measure every single one, and it's accurate. It really is. Time will tell how accurate it is over a space of time. I'm talking 3, 4, 5 weeks. You know, do I have to calibrate it every time I use it? Not had to do that yet. Do I have to rejig the blade curve every time I use it? No, I don't. You just have to have it set up correctly. If you're doing multiple cuts of the same size, a stop block is going to be the best thing for you. It's a little bit fiddly to get used to things, having to 0 it before you make the next cut. You can see I was forgetting to do that. It's just out of force of habit. But over a period of time, you'll actually learn how this works, and you'll get used to working with it, zeroing it, and then learning the angles and actually not having to take some time to figure out how to work it.